and the hotel bill with my name on his room. The envelope waited on our kitchen table like it belonged to the fruit bowl. Standard cream paper, gold crest stamped with the name of a downtown hotel we never stayed in. My name was printed across the front in serif letters too careful to be accidental, for Adrian. Inside, the folio listed charges that didn't belong to me: 2 dinners, 1 bottle of champagne, a late checkout. Room 1812. At the bottom, instead of a signature, a line written in blue ink: "If you still want the truth, tonight 9:45, same room. M." I repair typewriters for a living. Ribbon, steel, the discipline of small springs, keys that think they're tired until you show them how to forgive. My shop smells like oil and old paper. Owen, the man I share a lease and a bed with, curates exhibitions that make donors believe walls have feelings. We've been together 6 years. We keep 2 glasses by the sink because water is the one ritual we trust before sentences that might change the day. He had come home the night before smelling like cedar and the last hour of a lobby. He kissed my cheek like a man who had memorized coordinates but forgotten pressure. He undressed in the hall the way you do when the bedroom is tired of keeping notes. "Late dinner with a board member," he said. "You'd be bored." He slept on his side as if sleep were something he owed the bed, not me. Now the bill sat under the bowl of pears, a witness too polite to shout. There were a handful of M's in our orbit. Museums are full of them, but only one who would dare write my name like it was currency. Marcus, the event director whose job was to arrange rooms until they forgave themselves. I had seen him across receptions, taller than the lights meant him to be, with a voice that treated donors as if they were better sentences than they were. Once he'd glanced at me too long when Owen's arm was on my shoulder. I remembered. At 9:20 I walked through the hotel lobby with the folio folded once in my pocket. Carpets taught to soften footsteps, lamps that dim like expensive sighs. The elevator was a box of brass pretending to be noble. Floor 18. The corridor smelled of raincoats and obligations. Room 1812 opened on the second knock. Marcus stood in the doorway with his jacket slung over a chair behind him, shirt unbuttoned one notch beyond polite. He smelled like cedar and the half-life of champagne. "You came," he said, "not a victory, relief, almost apology." "You build a room with my name on it," I said, holding up the envelope. "That's persuasive." He let out a small laugh that hurt him on the way out. "He thinks he's meeting me here to end it politely after the patron's tour," Marcus said. "I thought you should have the room first." The suite was lit like a photograph that didn't want to be accused of lying. On the table, 2 glasses of water already sweated, rehearsing decency. Owen's scarf lay across the arm of the couch, careless in a way that told the truth. My hand hovered above the fabric and retreated. Objects don't deserve to be witnesses. "How long?" I asked. My voice sounded like someone else's stenography. 8 months, Marcus said. "It started with rain and an elevator that wouldn't hurry, a lobby that sells permission. I ended it twice. He sent me a photograph of your breakfast with a caption about how you always use the blue mug. I respected the sentence against my better judgment." He stepped closer and stopped with an inch between his fingers and my wrist. Heat made itself known in the space. That inch was explicit, indecent in its restraint. He let it stand. His eyes stayed on mine like someone who'd rehearsed honesty and didn't trust his mouth. The door opened again with the diplomacy of hinges. Owen stepped inside wearing his docent face, the one that tells strangers where to look and promises not to scold them for seeing something else. He saw me. He saw Marcus. He saw the scarf, the glasses, the inch of air that had a temperature. He closed the door with respect I didn't expect. "Okay," he said. The word was honest enough. You could have kept the folio out of our house, I said. You chose not to. I chose incompetence, he said, and I loved him for nomming it correctly. Then cowardice. I cheated. I told myself it was weather and that home is a noun that survives rain. I told myself your patience is elastic because you fix broken alphabets. I told myself spark was structure. I don't want to hear me again. Marcus had drifted to the window as if the city could excuse him. He raised his hand toward my neck, stopped at the same inch, lowered it again. Heat lingered, testimony without contact. He looked smaller for the mercy of it. "What do you want me to do?" Owen asked. He didn't reach. He's learned. Reaching is a contract the wrists sign before the brain reads it. "You'll end it," I said. "You'll sleep on the couch we refuse to call a guest anything. Next week you'll tell me what this was twice. Once in your museum voice that polishes bone, once with small words. I'll decide what my hands can hold without lying to my wrists." "I'll do that," he said. His voice almost broke on the last syllable, and I hated how much I still loved him for being human. Marcus exhaled, came close enough for breath to draw a map along my jaw, and whispered without touching, "Thank you for not making me a headline. We both would have believed you." He left quietly, not allowing the door to audition for punctuation. The suite held its silence like a contract. We stood a moment longer. The glasses sweated until the table knew its role. I tucked the folio back into the envelope and pressed the flap closed with my thumb. "I'm not leaving tonight," I said. "We'll walk home without touching. We'll wait at crosswalks because other people's knees and our better natures both deserve seconds. You'll sleep on the couch. Tomorrow you'll end it without complimenting him. Next week you'll bring me small words." He nodded. He didn't cry. I loved him for that even here. We walked. The elevator behaved. The lobby forgave us by ignoring us. Outside, the city smelled like rain deciding whether to mean it. At the corner, a cyclist cut too close and Owen's hand rose in reflex, hovering near my hip. The heat of it offered me a mercy I could want and refuse in the same instant. I refused. A man gets to choose the boring tool that keeps the lock from lying. At home, the kettle performed. He laid blankets on the couch with curator care. I slept alone in the bed, which for once didn't ask questions. Morning came. He returned from the lobby that sells permission smelling like nothing, the cologne adulthood should issue by law. He told me he had ended it. He told me twice. First in his museum voice, donors, lobbies, mistakes arranged like artifacts. Then in small words, he liked being two men because one wasn't tired. He mistook adrenaline for architecture. He could be one person if I let him do the work. I let him. That isn't nobility. It's a ledger, arithmetic with skin. He slept on the couch 6 nights, learned the distance between our door and our bed like a route you don't brag about. On the 7th, he came back without ceremony. His hands remembered the lazy precision we taught each other years ago and nearly abandoned. There is an erotics of restraint that never sells tickets. There is a thrill in deciding not to ruin morning. 2 days later, Marcus texted, "Thank you for telling the truth in a room that lies for a living." I replied, "Try it where nothing performs." He didn't answer, which was the second most decent thing he did. Work stayed exact. I rethreaded ribbon through a royal typewriter for a poet who believed paper deserved bruises. I refused a man who wanted me to erase his ex-wife's initials from a carriage, explained that scars sometimes deserve their witness. I showed a kid how to clean a plat with patience, watched him roll a page through, and smile at the crisp sound of a bell that meant nothing more than honesty. A week later, I saw Marcus outside the museum talking to a donor about light fixtures. He looked smaller. Maybe my anger had stopped needing him to be tall. He said hello without trying to own my afternoon. He did not smell like cedar. We stood until the air remembered how to be ordinary. Then he left without auditioning for a moral. Here is the part that doesn't win applause. I wanted him. I wanted the inch, the heat, the way restraint can be more erotic than permission. I wanted to make a mistake neat enough to narrate. I didn't. Wanting is a sentence, not a command. Bodies vote. Ethics count. Boredom is mercy if it lets you like yourself at noon. Owen and I adjusted our frame. 2 glasses before 3 sentences. Less reach, better touch. We stopped letting the kettle set tone. At openings, we stand near exits not because we plan to leave, but because air needs a door. He keeps his phone face down now, not like evidence, but like a habit. I keep the envelope in a drawer with the screws I've meant to sort. Some objects deserve to remember. If another folio arrives with my name where a bill should go, I will bring water. I will sit where the exit is obvious and not call that cowardice. If a hand rises toward my neck, I will let the inch exist and answer with a decision I can carry past breakfast. I will keep choosing verbs that keep us possible. End, stay, tell, work, touch, wait. And when I strike a type bar and hear it kiss paper with more honesty than music, when the bell dings at the margin to remind me of restraint, I will think of the hotel bill with my name on someone else's room, and the night we refused a finale in favor of repair. And I will call that deliberate air the most difficult thing I know how to make, and the only thing that still holds when daylight forgets its lines.